Welcome everybody to What's Up, Bolts? I'm Fernando Ramirez. That's sunglass Don and hat wearing son of a gun. Dan and Daygo is at Moe's. Dan, why are you at Moe's? The Chargers won 28-24 over the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm at Moe's for two different reasons, Frau. Number one, I couldn't find another virtual.
Before you say that,
just gonna cut me off.
Yeah, we have video of Dan and Daygo during that final play or that fourth down play right now. Let's go to it.
No, God, please, no.
That was a live look. So if you're on audio, you're definitely going to want to go check that out on video over at YouTube. 100%, Frau. 100%. So real quick, going back to your original question as to why I am at Moe's currently. Number one, I couldn't find another virtual background that I liked. And number two, it was just an ugly game down the stretch. I know everybody's excited because they got to win and everything else, but I know if I was in the room,
I think people,
I would try and preach. Okay, you're going to cut me off twice. Which one is it? Am I going to throw a flag? You want me to find my whistle? You want me to find a whistle or a flag? Which one are we doing?
I think people are angry. I don't think they're happy about that game.
Well, I haven't checked, but that's all I'm saying. If I was in the locker room right now, 100% what I'm preaching is humility, because one team was almost outdumbing the other on that final down the stretch right there. Because, I guess we're gonna get into it, or just let me know if you want me to go yet or not. But it's just ugly. It looked like I was watching, I don't even know who the worst teams in the leagues are right now. Well, a 8-man football team out in Chicago versus whoever the other worst team in the NFL is right now, because that was ugly. That was ugly down the stretch.
Your Padres are winning right now.
Frau, you're talking to me about baseball? What day is today? September 24th, Frau. We're almost in October. Who cares about baseball? Football's back. We got soccer back. I'm waiting on another wrestling pay-per-view. I don't want to hear about baseball anymore. It's over.
So obviously, the big thing about today was, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen's performances are now being overshadowed by the fourth down play. We're going to go over that. So when the Chargers are trying to go for the fourth down, they had converted already one in the right before halftime, where I thought Herbert was trying to hit Gerald Everett, but he ends up hitting Donald Parham, and he catches the touchdown. Now, when we look over at the fourth down play, Keenan Allen goes into motion. They had Joshua Kelly at fullback. Donald Parham does not give a good block whatsoever, and obviously the Vikings are able to sniff it out and they stop them. Well, here's the big thing about that play, though, is that why are you running the football when running the football? Let me go to the stats right now. You ran the football about 14 times. You only had Joshua Kelly was 11 carries, 12 yards, and you decide to run the football there like that. And it's the same thing as Cleveland last year. Remember in Cleveland, they did the same thing. They went to Mike Williams. Mike Williams catches it, and it wasn't a first down, so it was a turnover on downs. They were lucky Cade York missed that field goal, and that bailed them out. Today, what bails them out? Kenneth Murray interception at the end of the game. But, I'm going to be completely honest. If you're Brandon Staley, what the hell are you thinking? Like, you're not going to put it on the arm of 40 for 47, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, or put it in the hands of 18 catches, 215 yards. Like, I don't know.
Are we getting into it? Let's get into it, dude. Let's get into it.
I'm just questioning. Like, I don't question the decision to go for it on fourth down. I question again the play selection. It reminds me of a couple of years ago. Dan, by the way, we'll get into that in a little bit. But when you go over and it was like that Raider game a couple of years ago when they went for it on fourth down, backed up in their own end.
That's exactly the vibe I got. That's exactly the vibe I got.
Why? Just put it in Herbert's hands and let him decide it. Remember, when these guys talk about we want to have the ball in our hands, they're talking about Herbert, Keenan, Mike, and we will have an update in a little bit when we hear from Brandon Staley about what's going on with Mike Williams. But just I just thought the play calling was the terrible part. I get the going for it. I just thought the play calling, my God, like, and you were up, and it's the same thing as Cleveland last year. You were up, you got bailed out. I'm kind of at a loss for words on that one, but go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think it was terrible to go for it. If I remember correctly, they had no timeouts.
No. I'm not. I wasn't trying to just like what I'm trying to say is okay. Yeah, go for it, but put it in the hands of Herbert.
Yeah.
What would I have done?
You understand?
I would have punted it away. But I understand why Staley was going for it. I just thought the play. I'm crapping more on the play calling than the decision of going for it on 4th down.
But that's what I'm saying, though.
I think part of the thing is you don't have Derwin James. Your defense has been getting torched all day long, similar to like last year. And he was like, you know what? Our offense has been our greatest weapon today. Let's try and go put this game away.
But the risk versus the reward was not there, especially because in this game, you know, they had looked a little bit better than they did, I think, in weeks past. They did look a little bit better. What was keeping the drives alive for Minnesota half of the time were these stupid penalties or these mind lapses. The penalties were keeping them alive towards the end. But I think I think the decision to go for it was terrible. I don't think that was a good idea. And if you're going to go for it, like you said, put it in Herbert's hands or have a better play call right there, because I did not like that idea, especially because they had already gotten stuffed, I think, a few times, either in the goal line or other times. And the other thing is, like I said, they had 0 timeouts, and I think there was about a minute left or a little bit more than a minute, but not too much. At least make them go the length of the field. If your defense gets torched, your defense gets torched, but you can live with that, because at least you have a lot more going for you if you make them travel the length of the field. You never know. You could tackle them in bounds and they're running out of time to travel, you know, the 80 yards or whatever it would be if it would have been a touchback. But I did not like the decision to go for it. I did not like the decision or the play calling decision. You know, offensively, I thought, again, they had a strong game, but there's 2 things I don't like about this so far. I think having Herbert throw 45 times or 47 times, I don't like it. And I understand, you know, they were bringing a lot of pressure up the middle and stuff like that, so it was a little bit harder to run. But you gotta, in my mind, you gotta problem solve that stuff and try and get some outside stuff going, which obviously it wasn't too well. But again, I don't like him throwing that many times.
7 incompletions.
That's not the point, though. That'll win you games right now against, you know, mid to bottom tier teams for now. But when you start getting into crunch time with real teams, it's not going to work. And we've seen it not work.
There was no successful run play today except for when Herbert took off running. What else are you supposed to do?
Sweeps, outside runs. They gotta figure something out.
They can't sweep. You see, they can't offensive. They can't do that either.
Frau, this is why it's called problem solving. You're telling me with, you know, Mr. Irrelevant, Shanahan can figure it out a lot better. You know, you got to make it work
that's
with
the kind
your
of
personnel.
weapons that they have.
No, you've got to make it work with your personnel.
Daygo Samuel has been doing this for a while now.
You've got to make it work. I don't know what to tell you. Dotson's fast. Why don't you give him at least a few reps? The only people who get in there. Frau, you forget one of their best weapons is an undrafted player. All I'm saying is you have him throw this much. It's going to work now. It's not going to work later. That's okay,
but that opinion. Was just. But they hadn't had him throw this many times in the first 2 games.
So what happened then? Do you think from the first game to the next 2, where all of a sudden they couldn't run the football anymore?
No, you think that
was what's his name? Almost had 100 yards also in that first game.
I know, but that's because of Austin Eckler and the way that they were running the football. The thing is that they were Miami was so worried about Herbert like just going ballistic on him that they decided to let them have the run and go, hey, let's not let Herbert beat us. Today it was let's beat up on Herbert, let's try and rush him, let's try and get to him. They couldn't get to him. And that's what I think happened. But But I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I
Yeah.
think today
Well, they weren't
there are going to
blocking
be,
the ball on
but
the
there
edge
are going to be
anyway.
games that this happens. Like there are games that this is going to happen where Herbert's going to need to put it on his back and he's going to have to throw 47 times. Today they couldn't run the football at all. Like there was, and I know 14 attempts isn't much, but they were taking whatever the other team was giving them. What were they giving them? Passes, short passes, swing routes. And then you saw they bit hard on that Keenan Allen play. He throws it down the field and Mike Williams is wide open. So I understand where you're coming from, but at one point, you like if Herbert is like, I think Herbert only had 4 incompletions at halftime. I would have kept on beating that drum too. They couldn't stop him. They had, how many times did, well, you go ahead with your point, but 1, 2, there was only, the Chargers only had 3 punts today.
3 punts.
And then, yeah, 3 punts, and then the turnover on downs. But Herbert was just putting on a clinic on these guys, and I feel like that's why the Chargers decided to ride with Herbert. They're like, oh, you know what? Like, let's let him go. Let's see what he's the one that's succeeding. I understand where you're coming from. They do need to run the football more consistently. But without Austin Eckler, it's hard to do that, especially because we've seen in the past. I'm not trying to say anything about him, but like it's not the same. I'm just gonna say this. It's not the same without Austin Eckler in there. When Austin Eckler is in there, a lot of the attention goes to him. He runs the football really well. He's able to find different avenues to run the football efficiently. So I think that's the thing. And with Joshua Kelly isn't as elusive, isn't as creative as Austin Eckler is. It doesn't, like, Austin Eckler is kind of like a pinball. And I'm not saying because he's big, but because guys come up, they try and hit him, and he kind of like they bounce off of him and everything. So that's just my opinion. I just think today was a day that you needed Herbert to go out there and make all those plays. It was going to be impossible to run the football, especially the way they were crowding the line. That's the thing too. They were crowding the line every single play.
I'm not saying run up the middle. I'm not.
No, neither am I. But I just thought I know this team. I know this team isn't good enough not good enough. They have the talent, but they don't have the players to be doing end arounds. You've seen it. You've
I'm not talking about end arounds either, though. You're telling me they can't run outside zone to save their lives.
I mean, they couldn't do anything today on the ground.
All I'm saying is they got to figure it out, because in crunch time, that's going to add up, because you're going to have incompletions. The clock's going to stop, and you're not going to be able to kill off these opponents. And just the last thing I was going to say, obviously, huge game for Keenan. Shout out to him. He showed up. But I think that's going to cost them in the end also, if they're not getting more production out of some of their other weapons on this team and everything else. Because if they zero in on him and take him away, that's going to be a huge problem, especially you don't know what the problem is with Mike, or if he's going to be out, or for how long and all that stuff. And the last thing I'll say is this. You heard me during the game, for how I am so sick of seeing this receiver screens to Mike Williams, because all it does is remind me of the Denver game. And I just don't understand how they haven't learned that yet, where it's like, you don't want Mike taking abuse from these linebackers and these defensive linemen chasing them from the line of scrimmage and all that stuff, because we've seen them go down before. So that's going to be interesting to see what his timetable is, but just not a very good game down the stretch.
No, and I agree with you on all those points. I agree. I just thought running the football was going to be bad. And again, going back to the fourth down play, I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, no. What I was saying is I understand doesn't mean I agree with it. I did not agree with going for it. I understand going for it. I just thought the play calling was dumb. Like, I understand where they're coming from when thinking about it, saying, hey, our defense can't stop them. What would I have done? I would have punted the football. Pin them deep. If your defense gets torched, they get torched, but you're a defensive guy. You should be able to do something at the end. But I thought it was the Kenneth Murray thing I thought was a bailout. I mean, it was just not a good sequence there for them. They had other lapses, like you mentioned. They got penalized a lot in this game. Let me go to that right now. They were penalized.
Michael Davis had at least 2 or 3 penalties, I think, on him.
12 times for 94 yards.
Yeah.
And the ridiculous part, well, some of them were really questioned. Like the Derwin James one, I thought, going back to that, because I'm sure Derwin is going to get fined yet again, because it was another helmet-to-helmet hit on consecutive weeks. And then they're going to think back to the Colts hit from last year. and they're going to be thinking about it. So I'm sure Derwin is going to get hit again. But it was Kenneth Murray kind of like slingshotted Madison's head up, and Derwin kind of came in thinking he was probably going to hit him in the chest and then knock him over. But him bringing the head down kind of made him hit him or whatever. Derwin hit him in the face. I thought that was a weird one. There were some other ones that I was just the blown dead call by the referees when it came to
where it was a fumble,
by Madison.
Yeah.
I was like, so you blow that dead? Like,
Yeah.
that I thought was really weird. But
well, the craziest part is like they haven't accounted yet. Like, what is a defender supposed to do if the offensive player lowers their head first? Like, because that completely changes where they're targeting and everything else. Like, it's just idiotic. They haven't accounted for those things. And you could tell because there's a lot of these calls where you're like, dude, this is just so soft. Like, it's just so ridiculous. Like, and the other part is I understand they're probably doing this to try and dissuade these players from doing this like full speed hit stick stuff and have them actually come in and wrap up and everything else. But sometimes it's just a bang, bang play. Like, you can't really penalize these defenders for trying to do their job.
Yeah. Dan, let's go now to Brandon Staley and see what he had to say to the media.
Yeah, Jeff, I really feel like this group likes playing together. I thought that the group hung in there. There were a lot of momentum swings in the game. And with the third down penalties and, some of the weird play, clock stoppages, fumble, no fumble, I thought our guys just really hung tough together. And our red zone defense was outstanding. It won us the game. And I thought our third down defense was outstanding too. We had a couple, tough third down penalties, but I thought we rushed the quarterback well today. Continue to build off that. I think the last 2 weeks we've rushed the quarterback at a high level, and but really building on our situational defense. I thought the 2-minute defense at the end of the half, and certainly the 2-minute and then red zone defense at the end of the game. I thought our guys really came together and played well. Yeah, just no timeouts, and it was less than a yard, and just we feel like we had the play to finish with the ball. We were protecting, 4 points, not 3. So that was part of, my thought process. And I believe in our group. We came here to win, and that's what we were trying to do. Yeah, Sam, I mean, the entire game was wild to me. There was just so many things in that game that happened that really, I think, tested the patience of our team. I thought the connection of our team. And I think all 3 phases just really hung tough, Sam. And that's a good team over there. And they've had 3 thrillers too. And so, Kevin's group's going to fight. And, it was just one of those, big time NFL games. It felt like a playoff game out there today. And I felt like our group really had their best at the end, especially on defense. Convincing, yeah. And the fact that he didn't have any timeouts was important, and the fact that it was less than a yard. Yeah, I mean, that defense really forced him to have a commanding performance. I mean, with the amount of pressure that was on him today, there was a lot of the zero pop-out pressure, and it was on him. And for him to go 40 of 47 for 405 just shows you that he's one of the special players in the league. And we needed that today. I mean, his performance carried us through that third quarter when he got really hot. And the most important thing that he does is he takes care of the ball. No turnovers today from him in a game where he's getting blitzed almost play. And there are very few quarterbacks who can do that. That was an outstanding offensive game plan. And I really felt like our group on offense hung tough today. It was a tough game. And we made a lot of big plays in the passing game today. Basically they said that because the ball didn't come out immediately, that it wasn't a fumble. So get the opportunity to do the official thing afterward, and I look forward to your correspondence with him.
This will be the last one.
Okay.
It's atonement. Those that have been covering the team, 2 years ago, we ran it versus Kansas City. So a little atonement there for an incompletion. Keenan really throws a good football, but we've been working on that play, and I'm excited for Keenan because it really capped off one of those, maestro performances for him. A career game. a record-setting game. And, again, the best players play like that in a big game. It gives you a chance. And Keenan and Justin were fantastic in the game today.
So basically Brandon says that that the reason why is because he thought it was less than a yard and he wanted to protect the 4 points. It wasn't just 3, it was 4. So they were going to have to get a touchdown. They had no timeouts. Again, I get it, but
yeah, if you're at midfield,
pin them back.
Yeah. Either way, like say you're at midfield, you can live with that a lot more than on your own 20 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like that. I was not a fan of that at all.
By the way, and I hate that we're getting away from it, but because of everything with the 4th down play and everything, but what a great performance by Justin Herbert. And Brandon said it there.
Yeah. And
he
Keenan,
had the crowd. Yeah. But I'm gonna go with Justin first. It was a loud environment. It was hectic.
You could hear it.
It was crazy. He was getting blitzed nonstop, no turnovers. That's one thing, Dan, that nobody is talking about when it comes to Justin Herbert. There have been no turnovers the first 3 weeks by him. Joshua Palmer fumbled today. That was their first turnover of this season. Yeah. But Herbert has not turned the ball over. He's been efficient today. A great performance. And you have to be impressed with what he's doing. I mean, he's not taking. I mean, yeah. He could have had an interception thrown when Evans popped the ball up and Palmer caught it and walked into the end zone. I get it. But at the same time, he's not turning the ball over. He's really out there. That's one thing that I'm really impressed with Kellen Moore and the way him and Justin have kind of been. I mean, the way Justin's been performing, but with Kellen with him, I thought that was a great game. And then Keenan Allen had I don't know. He just had an incredible game. I mean, let me read it out. This is the first time that Keenan Allen hits 200 yards ever in his career, Dan. 18 catches, 215 yards, 1 completion, 49 yards, and a touchdown.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I told you about it. They tried it against Kansas City a couple of years ago. It didn't go.
Yeah.
There was a pressure on Keenan today. They tried again, and they hit it. Obviously, Keenan likes to show off that arm, but Keenan was he could not be stopped. It didn't matter who they put on him. He was really open at all times. So he just kept put together just an incredible game, a maestro, the way Brandon Staley called it. But wow, what an impressive matchup. And I know some people have said, oh, Keenan's maybe on his last legs. Oh, he's not that good. Maybe he's fallen off. 215 yards. That's the same thing Tyreek Hill put up on the Chargers a couple of weeks ago. So very impressive by Keenan Allen. Yeah, and real quick, Brandon Staley did say in the press conference that this from Jeff Miller. Brandon Staley said that the decision on cornerback J.C. Jackson was made because he felt this group of DBs gave the best chance for the Chargers to win today. By the way, yes, J.C. Jackson was not dressed. He did not play. So go ahead, Dan.
Oh, that's huge, dude, because it's like he probably is one of the highest paid DBs in the room, maybe besides Derwin. And just to sit him like that's going to be interesting the way that plays out, especially week to week, because that is not going to be good if you paid all this money for a free agent to come over and now he's more of a liability than he is, able to help your team win, especially because that's what you want to avoid too now is the locker room lawyers types who you can't have any bitter critters in the locker room who are not happy because that's going to affect everybody else. And
that's a good line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's going to be interesting the way that unfolds, but yeah, definitely, I didn't understand the criticism the past 2 weeks about Herbert. I think this game again, just further highlights what a good quarterback he is. I would take him over anybody. And that's not don't think because you see a thunderbolt right here that I wouldn't.
Quick, sorry. Jeff tweeted, and then Jeff tweets out, asked if Jackson had a chance to work his way back into the rotation. Staley said that is to be determined.
Damn, he even got a TBD. That's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be something.
And Staley on Monday told us on the Zoom call that they were gonna keep up this rotation, and I guess last or in the week they thought, you know what, let's do this, man.
Yeah, who knows? Or maybe it was a disciplinary thing and it just hasn't gotten out. Who knows, dude?
You know, it's funny. Somebody tweeted out, watch him get cut by the Chargers this offseason. Bill Belichick give him like $10 or whatever and turn him back into an all-pro.
All-pro, yeah.
Back in New England.
Well, like that's been like the biggest mystery for years, though. Like these Patriot guys will kill it in New England, and then all of a sudden they hop out and they get paid by their teams, and it just doesn't go well like it did in New England. So, well, I mean, I'm not
sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I thought that was pretty important.
Going back, because right now I think you get the victory, even though it's ugly. I get a win as a win, but I mean, it's like you want to be able to build momentum and sustain it, and I don't think blundering into victories on accident is a way to do it. But I think they can for sure beat the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders have shown anything special. You go into the bye week 2-2, like that's not going to be terrible. So you still have an upside there. But the only thing is, like, oh, do you got something else? More breaking news or what?
Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams rode a cart to the bus at US Bank Stadium with his left leg in a brace. His knee injury looked bad on the field, and he'll have an MRI on Monday to determine the extent of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no doctor, but that doesn't sound good. It sounds like he's gonna be out for a while because he got hurt. Derwin, I think, didn't finish the game, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think he finished the game. So
no, he didn't.
That's two huge losses right there. And on top of that, when Mike went out, you still rarely saw Quentin Johnston. So I think that I don't know what's been going on there. I think that's definitely been an interesting thing of like, where has Quentin Johnston been? And the other thing I didn't like, Frown, now that we're talking about some of these personnel, I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to put Donald Parham in there to block. He is not a blocking tight end. He's the one
that's
who got
supposedly what Trey McKitty's for.
Down. Exactly. Between that and special teams, but he does neither, or maybe special teams, but I just don't understand sometimes these personnel shifts and everything else. So just getting a head count, Mike's going to be out for a bit. Who knows how Derwin's going to be? You still have Bosa, I think, battling the hamstring.
Well, I mean, I guess the good thing is that the bye week is coming up.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, let's hope they can get there, because who knows how, if Mike has a brace and all that stuff and he need to be carded and all that, like he might be out for a while. Who knows, dude? But one bright spot for sure, Frown, that I think, this guy deserves the Compa of the day who's come on is, of course I'm going to butcher his name. What's it? Tuli or
Tuli Pelodu.
Yeah. That guy has looked pretty good through 3 games.
Yeah, we've gone 27 minutes and I haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah.
Tuli is very impressive.
He has a high motor. He gets after it, dude. He has he had 1.5 sacks today. That guy is the type of backup you want to have for your Joey Bosa's, your Khalil Max and stuff like that. Because
today he was the starter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he's been battling that hamstring thing or whatever Joey has. And it's like, that's the type of guy you want behind these guys, because they're still going to be productive, even though they're not the main guy. So I think that was a bright spot for sure. I still think the linebacking group is very beaten down, very weak. There were times when, are we going on to defense now? Are you good if I start talking about the defense a little bit?
Go ahead.
There are times when I just don't understand Kenneth Murray's, I don't know what, but I don't understand how he has free shots coming downhill all the time. And the most he can do is arm tackle every single time. Like, I just don't understand that stuff. The other thing I want to say real quick, the blunder of the day has to go to Kevin O'Connell. I don't understand why you don't spike the ball, get a play you want in there, and then run a play on second down. Like, that was the most idiotic thing I had ever seen. I couldn't believe how stupid that was.
So they get the first down, and I tell Dan, I'm like,
management.
Yeah, I tell Dan, I'm like, oh wow, they're gonna continue. They're gonna continue. Watch, they're bleeding the clock, and then Dan goes, they still have 3 shots. Watch. And they get it down to like 10 seconds and they can't get it off. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it was just bad. Just a bad blunder by them.
Terrible clock management, dude. Because you get the spike maybe 15 seconds. You have plenty of time to run 3 plays or 4 plays or whatever. You just couldn't take a sack, but whatever. That it is what it is. And it's like they hang on. The Chargers hung on by their chinny chin. So I think moving forward, if they need to play clean against the freaking Raiders and actually get some stops on defense, they had a turnover, or they had two
Jacobs,
turnovers.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Did they have two turnovers today, or did they have
No,
one?
one. Oh, well,
Yeah.
if you do, I can't remember if turnovers
Someone
count
fumbled.
as.
Oh, yeah. There was a fumble and a pick.
No, there was. Oh, yeah, the Kenneth Murray pick. So,
Yeah.
2 turnovers.
Yeah. Yeah, because no, and then Alohi Gilman ripped it out.
No, yeah, one fumble and one
Yeah.
interception. So 2
Yeah,
turnovers.
exactly. So they had 2 turnovers. So that's at least a bright spot. So they have got to just build on that momentum defensively and really bring out something positive against this Raider team. Because like I said, I don't think they have much. And if they get into some freaking, okey doke like they did today, because in my opinion, Frau, I thought in the first half the Vikings looked terrible. I did not expect them to look, this bad. I didn't think they had an identity yet. They were having a really hard time getting stuff going. And like we talked about, the penalties in my mind kept them alive more than anything. I don't think and the other thing was Justin Jefferson, he had 149 yards or whatever. I thought there were a very quiet 140 yards. I didn't know he had
the
that
52-yard touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. One of them was a 52-yard touchdown, but relatively quiet most of the game. So I guess maybe that's a positive. It wasn't the 200 and something that Tyreek put up.
And not just that, but like listen to this. Kirk was 32 of 50, 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. Madison, who only had 62 rushing yards coming into this game. He had 20 carries for 93 yards.
Yeah, there you go.
Hawkinson had 8 catches for 78. Addison 6 for 52. Osborne 1 for 36 and a touchdown. And Madison had 5 for 32. So they were allowing those guys
giving
almost
up yards
to eat up yards. They didn't score the ball all that much, but I mean, because 24 points is less than what they've been doing the past 2 weeks. So
30.
But and when the going got tough, I'll give them credit. When the going got tough at the end, they were able to hold the Vikings down, because if you look at it, Derwin was already out, and they had 2 turnovers on two consecutive plays in the end zone, or 2 consecutive drives in the end zone that the Chargers did. Or my bad. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. So they had the drive before the Chargers 4th down blunder. The Vikings had made it all the way to the 3-yard line. Then Madison goes up the middle for 2 yards. Then he gets stopped by Kenneth Murray. Then Justin Jefferson, incomplete pass, and they go for it.
Yeah,
he tries to hit Justin Jefferson, and it was incomplete. So they did a turnover on downs. Then the Chargers do the 4th down. Then the interception in the end zone at the end. So, or the interception in the end zone.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Those final 2 drives, they hung tough, and they were able to get it out without Derwin James on the field. So that was even more impressive, that without Derwin, they were able to kind of hold it down and get the victory at the end. But wow, that was really close. I'm sure that's closer than what they had hoped. But if you can go into the bye week 2-2, you've kind of saved yourself if you're Brandon Staley in a sense. But I mean,
that's why they need.
I never thought they were gonna fire him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there has been some questionable decision making in all 3 games, in the 2 losses and in the victory. There's been questionable decisions by him and his coaching staff. But yeah, just the defense at the end, they
did what they needed to do.
Yeah, they put up.
That's what I'm saying. They need to build off of this, because hopefully I can get them some hopefully I can give them some confidence, because I mean, this defense has not had confidence in the first 2 weeks, giving up 30 points, letting guys just run and do whatever they wanted. There was a few times today, and again, I don't understand sometimes, like, when you bring in more defensive linemen, is to try and get one-on-one matchups you like and have linebackers fill or whatever. That way there's less double teams happening. But sometimes even when they do that, like, these linebackers are getting driven back 5 to 10 yards, or these defensive linemen are getting driven back 5 to 10 yards. So they really need to come up with a plan on how to stop this, because it's only going to get worse, especially next week with Josh Jacobs. He's a very good runner coming off a great season last year, even though the Raiders didn't do much. But It's not gonna be easy next week because everybody gets hyped for the Charger Raider game and a long time standing AFC West rival. So they really need to figure it out for next week. Jimmy G's not really the scariest type of quarterback they're going up against, but I mean he'll dice you up and if you give it to him. So they definitely need to build off this win this week.
Mike Williams also had a big game, 7 catches, 121, 1 touchdown.
There you go.
That's pretty impressive. But like, listen to how accurate Herbert was today. Keenan was 18 of 20. So whenever he targeted him 20 times, he had 18 catches. Mike Williams, 7 receptions, 8 targets. The only one that he was off with was Palmer, 4 out of 7. Palmer had 4 catches for 66 and a touchdown. I know he had the fumble, but that was a good recovery by him. Everett, 6 of 6 for 30 yards. So definitely impressive there by Herbert in the offense. Again, yeah, the defense struggled, but at the end they end up pulling it out. Everybody thought that Justin Jefferson was going to have a humongous game, Tyreek Hill-esque. He still had a good game.
Yeah, I was about to say, 150 is nothing to sneeze at.
No. He still had a really good game, but it wasn't that he just went completely off. And that's the thing too. Has JC Jackson really hurt this defense so much that today they kind of settled down a little bit more? Who knows? And I'm just asking a question. I'm not trying to take any shots or anything. I'm just asking
questions.
No, well, it's true. I mean, I'm just asking because you can tell the rotation hurt them.
Yeah.
And then they thought that they could throw Ja'Sir Taylor probably back into special teams and do Asante Samuel Jr. in the slot, and then Michael Davis on the outside, and then J.C. Jackson on the other outside. But Asante's not as good of a tackler as Ja'Sir, so that's why they put Ja'Sir back in the slot. By the way, I thought Asante Samuel Jr., he had some miscues, but I thought he had a pretty strong game. There were a couple of times that he had a big hit or he had a good knockdown. So
that's what it's been so far. We were even talking about this pregame. Like Asante Samuel Jr., all you'll see is him give up one play or something like that, and then the rest of the game he like settles down and he's in it and he's doing his thing. I haven't really heard his name much this year, so usually when you don't hear a DB's name much this year, it's because either they're not targeting you or they're not catching over you. So besides his little blunders sometimes that he'll have, I think he's been solid too, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with this DB group. Because like, imagine, could you see if they do better, if they keep these same guys on the field, could you see JC Jackson just being a practice squad player now or something? Or
well, I mean, you couldn't. I mean, for the money that you're paying him, I mean, it's just how long until he enters that Derek Cox discussion or like of guys that have been overpaid?
Would they trade him? Would they trade him? Who knows?
No, I don't think they'll trade him. I don't think they would. But I don't know. That's just it's just an ugly look because of how much money they paid. I think I can't remember, but it's just not a good look for them, obviously, right now, especially because he was inactive. That was the thing trending on Twitter at one point, was the fact that he was inactive at the beginning of the game. But yeah, I mean, other notes from the game. Let's look real quick at some team stats. Wow. See, they are mirror images of each other. The Chargers had 475 yards of total offense. The Vikings had 475 yards of total offense.
100%.
The Chargers had 11 drives. The Vikings had 11 drives. Incredible.
Pull up the Spider-Man meme, Bimbo. Or Frown. Pull up the Spider-Man.
It really is. It really is that. But penalties 12. See, that's another thing. The Chargers got to limit those penalties, man. It's costing them. It cost them last week. It's costing them. It almost cost them this week. 12 for 94 yards.
That's what kept their drive alive half the time.
Yeah. And same as last week. The Titans really didn't have all that much. It's just that the Chargers coming out of halftime, they those penalties allowed them to score that touchdown. But moving forward, they're gonna have to improve that. Then that's the thing. What are they gonna do now if Mike Williams is out for a while? Like Keelan Doss comes up, or what are they gonna do? Because Quentin Johnson still hasn't implemented himself in here. Joshua Palmer still, to me, hasn't implemented himself.
No, he hasn't.
And you
you
need Mike in those. You need Mike in those big games. Those big games. What do I mean? Those big games like in Kansas City. You're gonna need him like on the road. Mike is an incredible player on the road. He does well
Buffalo. They play New York.
Well, that's later down. We don't know the extent of the injury, but yeah, just not a good look. So
not a good.
We'll know more. We'll know more on Monday afternoon when we speak to Brandon Staley. So make sure you guys are tuned in on my Twitter at Real F Ramirez.
Shout out.
So we've gone over the 4th down. We've gone over defense, offense. I think that's a solid thing, don't you?
But I mean, like it's almost this is almost a victory where you're like, well, what can we say, dude? I mean, we all have eyes. We all saw it wasn't clean, and it's like through 3 games so far, it's always been we know the offense is going to score. Can the defense hold up? Has always been like the thing.
And they did at the end, but not.
And they did at the end finally today. Yeah, they did at the end finally today. So.
But not during the game is what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just there's not much to say when you see something like this because it was more than anything a blunders and a good head-up play. The only reason why they got out of this with the victory because that was just ugly towards the end. That was just ugly, ugly football. But I mean, it is what it is. You'll take it when you can get it.
I completely agree. So the Chargers beat the Vikings 28-24. They improved to 1-2. Justin Herbert, a hell of a game. Let me go back to it. He was 40 of 47, 405, 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 18 catches, 215 yards. Mike Williams, 7 catches, 121, 1 touchdown. Joshua Palmer, 4 catches, 66 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams does end up getting hurt in this game. Tom Pelissero just tweeted out that Mike was seen carted to the team bus. He'll have an MRI on Monday, so make sure you are tuned into my Twitter. I will have the latest on whatever happens with Mike Williams, but just a bad blow if Mike has
for real, for real, huge.
But we know how important Mike Williams is to this team and what he does on offense. But before we head out, Dan, obviously I don't know if you saw the breaking news, but who's that?
Oh my God, are you serious? Who cares? Who cares? Go back to baseball, Frown. Talk to me about baseball. Talk to me about baseball.
No, look at that. They're having a great time.
I do not care. Frown, I don't know how much more you want me to say about this. We all know what's going to happen. They're going to have a very intimate relationship for about 2 months, and then he's on the next cover of her album. It is what it is. We all know it's coming.
And you know what the funny part is that I'm sure nobody's more excited than who knows if Travis Kelce's nieces know who Taylor Swift is. But
I'm pretty sure they're pretty young. Who knows, dude?
Yeah, they're really young.
Hey, so maybe his sister-in-law, maybe she loves Taylor Swift.
There you go. She maybe is a Swiftie. And it's funny. A couple of days ago, he asked her, like somebody asked, why is Kelsey never hooked you up? Or my bad. Why is Jason Kelsey's wife never hooked you up with one of her friends? She's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to. So and the funny part is that they've brought up Catching Kelsey, his reality show. So that was also pretty funny. But
obviously that one didn't happen. No one
Dan, real quick.
Who's caught Kelsey, Frown?
No.
Derwin James. He's caught his ass.
No. The Dolphins beat the Broncos 70-20.
Is that the highest scoring game ever?
No, I don't think so. But 70 points.
Yeah, we all knew the Broncos were not. Well, no, I'm not going to lie. I thought the Broncos were going to be a lot better than this, but nope. But what do you know, Frau? What do you know?
Somebody said it. I don't know. Somebody said, oh, I don't trust Sean Payton. I don't trust what that team is going to be. But, I mean, I guess that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's going to be a tough learning experience in year one, though. There's
that contract that they have Team 3 under. That's for a couple of years.
The GM, there's no way you don't look at his job security and be like, this guy has got to go. That has not looked good. So
very, very bad. Let me give you some other scores. Indianapolis beat the Baltimore Ravens 22-19.
Let's go.
Uncle Joe's Cleveland Browns beat Tennessee 27-3. The Detroit Lions beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-6. Green Bay Packers with a late Derek Carr gets hurt, ends up being taken to the hospital. But Green Bay ends up securing that victory 18-17.
I hate Green Bay.
Houston with the huge upset of Jacksonville in Jacksonville 37-17. Obviously, you guys already heard Denver gets pummeled by Miami 70-20. New England ends up beating the Jets 15-10. I'm surprised Bill Belichick only put up 15 points. Buffalo ends up thrashing Washington 37-3. So this is we're getting to that point, Dan, where we're getting to that point where teams are starting to show what they're really made of.
Yeah, because now there's tape out there.
Yeah, they are. You know, it's funny, and I'm just gonna play it. I mean, I know people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, like this isn't a Chiefs podcast." I still think this is like the cutest video I think I've ever. No, well, yeah, I'll play it. Why not?
What?
I think this is such a great video.
Why I have to take it off?
Because I don't like it.
You don't like it? I thought you said you wanted Dad to have pink hair.
Yeah, but I don't want you to have pink hair.
Why can't I have pink hair?
Because you're naughty and you're sneaky.
Oh, no way.
I thought we'd end with a little bit of comedy, obviously.
This game did not make you smile, so that was nice right there. Sending everyone home with a nice smile and a laugh.
I'm trying to. I try and do that for people, even though.
Hey, real quick, Frown, before we end it, who's your favorite Batman villain?
Oh, I told you not to do this today.
I already saw Deadshot. Deadshot was in the comments. Shout out.
I saw that one. Yeah, shout out to the comments for you guys commenting on that. The Joker's to me is just the most incredible villain he's ever. Just the way they try and outsmart each other, and the fact that, I mean, and I'm going based off of, I guess, Heath Ledger's Joker for this scene, but
yeah.
When he goes, "You and I are destined to do this forever," he's like, "I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?"
Classic.
What about you?
Classic. I low-key love, even though it's not my favorite Batman, I love Jim Carrey's Riddler. I thought he was just so good, dude. So good. Jim Carrey's Riddler was so good with all the schemes and all that, and obviously the riddles, and he just played it to absolute perfection. So I've always thought the Riddler would be an interesting one, especially I thought in the new Batman, that Riddler was really good, really interesting. A little anticlimactic at the end, but.
And why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
It's crazy to think that movie came out in 2012, by the way. R.I.P. to Heath Ledger.
Such a great movie. Heath Ledger with an incredible performance.
Yeah, won the Oscar.
But yeah, exactly. But obviously we appreciate you guys so much for checking out another episode of What's Up, Bolts. Obviously, not the game. The Chargers got the victory. That's the important part, but I'm sure
that's the headline.
Fans are not happy about some of the decision making that happened. I get it, but that's why we're here. Make sure you guys leave comments. Dan and Daygo will
questions, comments, concerns.
Thursday's episode, guys. I'm really excited about this week because it's Raider week, so that means we have a plethora of guests that we can have from the Raiders beat. So
I'm already wondering who it's going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who we get. But again, we appreciate you guys so much for rocking with us. Make sure you have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure you have a great week. Don't forget, Thursday we will have the preview episode leading up to the Raiders game. And then after the Raider game, we will have post game. The bye week, though, Dan and I will do maybe on Monday after we speak to Brandon Staley that Monday. We will have a quick recap of what happened during the bye, or what's happened
so far. Yeah, after 4 games,
4 weeks of the season, and then we'll shut it down for a couple of days, and then we'll come back and get ready for Dallas Cowboys. That'll be an interesting.
It's gonna be a toughie. That's gonna be a toughie. So remember, questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section. I will find it and we'll bring it up next week. Also, if you get a chance to do it and you've seen it, favorite Batman villain. Let's have a fun.
And I know I apologize, guys. I know I brought in some Kansas City stuff, but I thought Dan would get a kick out of both of those videos.
I mean, it's not
especially
like
the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah,
Dan is a big Swiftie. He's a Swiftie.
Crap. I'd rather talk about baseball again. I'd rather talk about baseball.
All right.
No,
well, we appreciate you guys so much. Have a good one. And again, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to check out everything else on the COMPAS on the Beat Network. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend and have a great